Good evening, everyone. This is Wilson. Today's market gave us a very interesting message. On one side, the world still feels tense. War worries are not gone. Oil is still a risk. And investors are waiting for the Federal Reserve tomorrow. That should make people nervous. But on the other side, the stock market kept going up. That is the story of today. The market looked at all the fear, all the uncertainty, and still said, maybe this rally is not over yet. U.S. stocks closed higher on March 17th. The big indexes stayed strong, and investors kept buying even with global tension in the background. That tells us something important. Right now, this market still wants to believe. It wants to believe that bad news will stay limited, that the Fed will not shock investors, and that the biggest growth story in the market, artificial intelligence, is still alive and getting bigger. And that brings us to Nvidia. Today, Nvidia once again became one of the most important stories in the market. At its GTC analyst Q&A, CEO Jensen Huang made some very bold comments. The biggest headline was, "This Nvidia sees a path to $1 trillion in annual revenue by 2027, and even that may not include every future opportunity." That is a huge statement. Why does that matter so much? Because Nvidia is not just saying, we are growing fast. Nvidia is saying, the AI wave may be much bigger than most people think. Jensen Huang explained it in a very simple but powerful way. He said computers should not be seen only as expensive machines. They should be seen as production tools. In other words, if a machine creates tokens faster, works more efficiently, and helps companies produce AI output at a lower cost, then even an expensive machine may actually be worth it. That changes the whole conversation. The question is no longer just, is AI hardware too expensive? The new question is, how much money can this hardware help create? That is a very bullish message for Nvidia, and also for the whole AI infrastructure space. He also said something else that caught the market's attention. In the past, software companies sold licenses. In the future, many companies may sell intelligence. They may use models from OpenAI, Anthropic, or open-source systems, build them into products, and make money from token usage. If that happens, then AI demand spreads into almost every part of the economy. And if AI spreads everywhere, Nvidia stays at the center of it. That is why this story is so powerful. It is not just about chips. It is about the idea that AI becomes part of everything. There was also another important point. Right now, much of AI demand comes from hyperscalers like the biggest cloud companies. But Nvidia believes the next big wave could come from physical AI factories, robots, logistics, automation, and industrial systems. If that happens, the market for AI becomes much larger than just chatbots or software tools. So when investors hear this, they do not just hear a company talking about next quarter. They hear a company describing a future that could last for years. Now, outside of Nvidia, the broader market also had some important moves. Airline and travel stocks bounced after Delta gave a positive outlook. That helped investors feel better about parts of the market that had been weak. On the other hand, Eli Lilly fell sharply after concerns that expectations had become too high. So this was not a day where everything moved together. It was a day where the market said, we still want growth, but we are choosing carefully. And now everything turns to tomorrow. Tomorrow is a big day. We get important economic data, the Fed rate decision, and Powell's press conference. We also get Micron earnings, which could matter a lot for the AI memory story. So today felt strong. But tomorrow is the real test. If the Fed sounds calm, and if investors feel that inflation is not getting out of control, this rally could keep going. But if the Fed sounds tougher than expected, or if global risk suddenly gets worse, then the market may have a much harder time ignoring the danger. For now, though, one message is very clear. This market still believes. It believes in AI. It believes in buying dips. And for now, it believes the story is still stronger than the fear. This is Wilson. If you enjoyed this recap, please subscribe and hit the like button. I'll see you in the next one.